Kings, Nobles, and the Magna Carta. Note-taking study guide, page 185. Please review your textbook on page 417. First, we'll talk about the Norman Conquest. And if you go ahead and look on page 418 in your textbook, you can see a map there of how the Norman invaders came in, and then eventually how how they conquered England. First, the Norman Conquest. England in 1066. After Edward the Confessor died, these three men claimed the English throne. We have Henry, William, and the Norwegian king. Henry Goodwin, an Earl of Vixus, became king, and there was a battle that ensued. It was fought between the English and the Normans. And the Normans, you have to understand, is actually from a place in modern-day southern France. If you look at that map again, you can see it's Normandy. So the Normans were from France, and the Normans won this battle. William the Conqueror was crowned after fighting his way across England, and you can see a picture of him kind of right there in the lower right-hand side. And this started Anglo-Saxon rule in ended Anglo-Saxon rule in England. You had basically Norman rule. England after 1066, King William introduced a strong feudal system, divided the local landowners among 180 Norman barons, so he brought in his own people to rule the land. And French and Latin became the language of law, culture, and government. Limits on royal power. So, how the Magna Carta. Magna Carta is an extremely important document in the history of the world, but also specifically our country. A lot of our rights that we believe and hold dear actually come from the Magna Carta. And King John decided to reclaim his French lands in Normandy, so in France. So, the Normans conquered England, became king, and then they lost their lands in France. He had to form an army, which meant he had to raise taxes. Rebellious barons forced King John to sign the Magna Carta. So he raised taxes. Everybody thought the taxes were too high. This is the time period that the legend of Robin Hood comes in, where he's stealing from the rich and giving to the poor because of the high taxes. Okay, this is King John. Okay, in this document, King John agreed to recognize the rights of the barons. He promised he would not collect more taxes with the approval of barons. So this is actually where our no taxation without representation comes from. Is that we believe that you can't tax taxes without approval from our representatives. Well, the barons at this time would have been considered that, even though it wasn't democracy in any form. And he promised he would allow trial by jury in court cases. Again, this is where our right to trial by jury comes from. The Magna Carta made it clear that even a king must abide by the law of the land. So before this, the king was above the law. After the Magna Carta, the king was underneath the law. Especially in England, actually only in England and Europe at this time. So, English law. Common law is based on customs and judges' decisions rather than laws passed by a lawmaking assembly at this time. And English common law is a mix of these three types of law: Old Anglo-Saxon common law, Norman French feudal law, and church law, all mixed together. So England today, there's law that is made by the legislative body Parliament, but there's also common law, which is kind of a mix of all these old laws in England. Parliament is a lawmaking body, and it's divided into the two following houses: House of Lords and House of Commons. Okay, so upper house, lower house.